Go.
Hello, good morning, good afternoon, wherever you are. This is the Bobbi Jo and Sheena show. I being Bobbi Jo and my bestie and colleague, Sheena Kantar, right there. Yesterday we were talking about acceptance, and today we're going to talk about perception of our acceptance. Do you want to start it, Sheena?
Perception of our acceptance. That's an interesting one. I mean, yesterday I said about, if you had one subject in the room and there would be the whole world could look at it, you'd have 8 billion different perspectives on one thing. And what I realize is that we don't actually know what the truth is. We're so busy. So say we looked at an object and then I decided that it was this, but then Bobbi Jo decided it was something else. But then I could persuade Bobbi Jo to see my side of things. And then I can persuade Wolfgang to see my side of things. And then we'd have a collective consciousness on a certain topic. And so then somebody else would come in and they go, no, 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 but it's this. And we go, yes, but look at this. So let's have a look at even the perception of, like there's round earthers out there and there's flat earthers out there, and it makes me laugh because you will find evidence for a round earth and you will find evidence for a flat earth. It says in the Bible, seek and you will find.
Mm.
Whatever you think is true, my goodness, will you get all the evidence that the universe can bring you because it wants to please you. And so it doesn't matter what it is. I mean, I promise you, it doesn't matter what it is. You will have all the evidence you need to quantify your theory. And I even find that, Bobbi Jo, in relationships, whenever somebody talks about somebody else, and then they'll say, everybody else says the same thing. And I'm like, oh, like, why do you need somebody else to validate your opinion?
I know, it's the
Have your
condition.
opinion, keep it to yourself. It's not even true. It's your perception. Shut your mouth, live your life, and just flip and get on and enjoy and allow everybody to be. That's what I have to say about perception. It's not the truth. It's just your perception.
It is, and it's a hard one, let me tell you, because Sheena came over here for the month of August, and it's interesting having a mindset coach be with you and my colleague and me being triggered by old paradigms, old habits, beliefs, and behaviors. The old Bobbi Jo would come out, and I was triggered a few times. And it's all just perception. And you realize all this work that I've been doing for years that you can just go back into your default to the way you always were. It's so interesting. It's like your mind is like a path. You've been hiking that path for so many years, decade after decade after decade. It's nice, it's wide. And then all of a sudden you take a new path. But then, even by default, even if you have a new path, that old one is worn in so like an old shoe, and so you can get there. But it is all perception, and you're right. And it is. I find that on a holiday, I find that, yeah, a lot of people like to just talk about other people instead of the growth of it. And Fred and I found ourselves going to bed, hanging out with certain people like, okay, well, we heard that conversation like 5 times tonight. So it is interesting and it's all good, but thoughts are energy. That's the point. So if I have, Sheena thinking the same way I do, and Wolfgang thinking the way I do, and my husband Fred thinking the way I do, then it's collectiveness. And this isn't something that I find with weather. When I wasn't here in Alabama, it didn't rain for 2 weeks and it was so hot. Up north where we traveled to, it had rained for 27 days straight. We were up there for 3.5 weeks. It only rained on us twice. So, I didn't focus on the weather. Oh, is it going to rain? And didn't you notice that I didn't do it too much? Down here in the heat, I talked about it a lot. But when we were up north, I just loved the coolness and whatever day brought, it brought whatever it brought. And so it's our perception. I'm getting off track here, but it's our perception. What are we talking about? What are you complaining about? What are you saying the same thing every day? So you got to have this awareness of your perception of what you're creating your reality, because that's a hard pill to take, that you're creating your life. What? I didn't create this flat tire. What? I didn't want this fight with my husband, friend, boss. But it's everything is a reflection of ourselves. So what is your perception? So having that awareness. Now, what I wanted to talk about briefly is what I had thought about yesterday is how to change a perception on something. You first have to know what it is you're having or you're perceiving to be a certain way. and then write it out. Bob Proctor, we are Proctor Gallagher Institute coaches. We are certified. And Bob Proctor had this way. I don't know if it was Bob's or if he got it from Napoleon Hill and Think and Grow Rich or what, but he said always write out this problem. What is my perception of this? My husband smoking. It is bad. Why is it bad? Oh, it tells me all the time and this and that. But then why is it that you can probably prove, like Sheena just said, you can prove that the earth is flat or you can prove that the earth is round. And how do we do that? It's with this evidence, but you can find whatever you're choosing to believe into the most. And I could show you, look at all these people that died, but you probably could also see these studies where a lot of 90-year-olds who smoked to their last day lived. So it's whatever you want. So writing this problem out, getting it out of you, really realizing that this is my perception because I want to change it. I don't want to be stuck in this way of thinking, this tunnel vision anymore. And then you kind of go around the table, writing that problem out and thinking of it from a different point of view. Who's your favorite mentor? Who's your guru? Which you shouldn't really have. It's nice to look up to people and learn from them, but don't place the power outside of yourself, people. When you have a guru, you have a t-shirt, you're saying they know more than me, and that is not the case. We are all divine beings. We are all at the same level. We might be vibrating at different places, but nobody is better than nobody. So don't give them that power, but take that perception, get it outside of you, and then think that people you highly view and regard as someone important in your life, see how they would see it. How would God look at this? How would my great grandfather who passed away? How would my dad look at this? How would anyone? How would
That's a
Mother
great
Teresa?
one, what you said there, Bobbi Jo. How would God look at this? I mean, you may as well go straight to the top and actually go, well, what would be the godlike view of this? You know, I mean, what would it? And it's just like, well, it just is. And if we can bring our perception to the just isness of everything and then decide, well, what do I want after? And I
Mm,
think that is a great thing. It's just like it is what it like Michael Beckwith would say, it is what it is, harvest the good, forgive the rest. And I added the extra bit in at the end, which is basically, and I focus on what you want. Because it gives
yes.
you that space, that breathing space to actually do that. And you said, what is a perception? Well, perception is a belief. That's
Yes.
basically there's something's happened and you have a belief. And what I'm learning to do, and this is, remember, this is moment by moment because we're never through with this. We are all of consciousness itself. And so these are not your problems. They're literally things that are bubbling up that you picked up from goodness knows where. It's not belonging to you. Don't take it as your own. Don't take it personally. And so, what would I have to believe that this is true? What would I have to believe that's making me feel anger, fear, shame, guilt, doubt, whatever it is? What would I have to believe to be true for me to feel a negative emotion? And if you can figure out that, because it's really quick. So, say like maybe with smoking, then you believe that he's going to die. But now you ask yourself, then you use like the Byron Katie,
Mhm.
is this true? Well, no, because for something to be true, it has to be true for every single person. Remember that. The truth has to be true for everybody, and it is not. So why does one person, they also say like obesity kills you, but you have people who are big and live forever, and you have people who are really, really thin and they're runners and they die of a heart attack.
Yes.
And there's a tribe living somewhere in the world who
Mhm.
literally were found, they were living to their 150, who were drinking vodka and smoking, and nobody told them that was bad for them. So
They,
what's the belief that, and then that's
mm,
what Bobbi Jo was talking about there, was write that out, see what the belief is. What would I have to believe to be true? Okay, well, I've just disproved it. Oh, so it's not true. No, it's not. Oh, well, what do I want to be true? Well, and I remember us talking about this whenever I was away, and it was all is God, all is one, all is love.
yeah.
And that stops me every time when I start to judge something. I go, stop. You can change the word God for source, infinite intelligence, life. I mean, life is a good one as well. All is life. Well, what are you judging life for? Life just is. It's just happening, and it's always for its greater good. Always for its greater good. So, what's going on? And maybe when you take the power out of the cigarette,
Yeah.
then it's no big deal anymore. And
Yeah.
then they stop smoking or they carry on, but actually
Yeah.
it doesn't really matter. So it's quite interesting, isn't it? I heard I think you remember, this is my last story and then I'll shut up. But there was somebody whose husband was drinking a lot and they went to see somebody and he said, oh, it's not your husband who's got the problem with alcohol, it's you. And she said, I haven't got a problem with alcohol. Oh yeah, he's drinking it and you're the one complaining about it. So
Yeah.
you're the one with the problem of alcohol. He says,
Yes,
stop giving the alcohol power
I
to do
know.
anything.
And Sheena has said this to me so much about Fred smoking, like stop giving the power. So I want to back up there. I wrote a few things here. The first one with perception is God. And you throw out the God word is do you shrink or did you grab towards us? Because what, and then you have to look at your perception of that because it's all the same. And I love Dr. Wayne Dyer. He's like, if you're dyslexic, then it's dog. I get it. So what is your word, the source, the infinite intelligence, the energy that is undeniably there? So many religions in the world. So you first got to see your perception about God. Did you shrink or did you rise out of the word? It's just a word, people, and you need to look at your perception of that word a little bit deeper. Second thing is like, yes, focus on what you want instead of what you don't want. So I'm always focusing on Fred, quit smoking. Really, when Sheena would say to me more than a gazillion times, focus on Fred being healthy instead of me bitching about Fred smoking. So, you have to do this. And it's hard with certain friends like this because you can't really talk crap all the time because they're just like, come on, walk your talk, which has got to be a speech that we do sometime, walking our talk. Um, Last thing I wanted to say is like, Sheena just said there, it's a collective consciousness. What does that really mean, a collective consciousness? Well, Sheena and I were here in the United States about 2 weeks ago, and we were talking about popcorn and that when you're talking with people and you want to change them, they're going down a rabbit hole, they're talking about something negative, and just gossiping about somebody because, we're traveling outside of our comfort zone, Sheena and I, not our comfort zone, but just hanging out with a lot of people who we're hanging out with and can't really monitor the conversations aren't going the way we want like to go. So she was like, say popcorn. And we're like, popcorn. And you're like, whoop, squirrels, what? And it will change up what's going on with somebody's train of thought and thinking. So we were talking about popcorn and popcorn and popcorn. And wasn't it funny? Because we were talking about it, I don't know, about like 4, 5, 6 o'clock at night. Well, over in the UK, her partner Wolfgang was sleeping. And the next morning, he was talking to Sheena and he said, I woke up thinking about popcorn this morning. I wanted popcorn. And so that's the collective consciousness because Sheena and Wolfgang are very tight in the way that they think and they're connected, even though they're 3,000 miles apart over the Atlantic Ocean. But he woke up wanting popcorn because we were talking about popcorn. So that's a collective consciousness that we are talking about. And I was watching some football show the other day, Sheena, and the guy was up there. I kind of came into it late, but it was getting the Jets up to team level, da, 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 and there was a guy on there, and he would say to like you, Sheena, okay, think of an animal, and all of a sudden he'd pull out that animal of what that person was thinking about, and he goes, all right, who's going to be winning the Super Bowl this year, and what is the score going to be? And the guy's like 31-21, and over here on a piece of paper, the guy turned it over and had the exact things, 31-21, and the guy who said it was like tripped out and you could see the whole football team. I don't know who the guy was or what he was doing, but he definitely was tapping into that collective consciousness. Wish I could do that. What are those lottery numbers? All
Yeah,
right,
but
this is
it
all about
happened.
perception. Bobbi Jo went down so many rabbit holes, but it's all just food for thought here. Food for thinking about what is it? I like to change your paradigm. I want to shake things up and shift it up because we think a lot differently. So that's it for me today. Perception. What is your perception about your acceptance about things? What are you thinking about? Have that awareness. Keep tuning in. Tell your mother, tell your grandmother, tell the person you work with. Come to listen to us at the Bobbi Jo and Sheena show, and I'm going to let Sheena wrap it up with perception.
Just perceive what you want. That's
Mm.
it. That is the disciplined imagination and perceive what you want. End of story. And nothing else will do.
Drop the mic. There you go. What do you want to believe? You want to be stuck in your story? Then go ahead. But know that you can have a new lens because if someone else can do something and you want to just sit and bitch, how poor me and play victim, start rising. Start rising. How do I want to be? How does that feel to be someone who does that? Take care of you first. Stop. Take care of you, love you. Stop all that other stuff. Catch the awareness because we tend to beat ourselves up and put us in lack and limitation, which is a perception. We're in abundance, people. That's all.
See you next time.
Till tomorrow.